right? So South Africa is a broken place. Musi Maimane articulated that well a very long time ago.
He did.
But in that brokenness, there's lots of opportunity.
Yes.
And how do we then, because you see, on the one hand, I still want to link it to the politics side, where it's like the youth doesn't care. They've kind of made that very clear with their voting stats. They've made that very clear with not going out into the streets on as regular a basis as we used to before, because of knowing that you're just going to be ignored anyway. So
I think there's
protesting
empathy.
is gaslighting.
Yeah, I think there's like apathy from my generation and younger, and I think this is simply because it's like what you say and what you do are completely two different things. Right?
Yeah, that's the definition of gaslighting.
Pretty much. And for them, trusting any man or woman who says something that is like completely opposite is like, okay, you've made your point. You can't be trusted. So there's massive apathy from that perspective. There is, I think, also just okay, that's a so true. So there's like, there isn't any kind of perseverance or any kind of, the khuspa is very dim at the moment. And this is also because of the fact that the high promises that have been happening are now actually becoming a reality of lies. And actually to even go further, having to deal with that reality for most young people is like, are you serious right now? Like, I really thought that you were really like gonna go out and just like do what you were supposed to do. I'll give you a typical example. Like there's just been a wave and an outcry with Panyaza's strategy with job creation, just around Gauteng.
Yep.
And I feel like that Panyaza really dropped the ball when he had this massive, drive of, I don't know, 1 million jobs just before the elections, again, as part of a campaigning strategy. And then said, oops, yeah, about that. Yeah, it didn't quite happen. How? Okay, it didn't happen. Why? Yeah, we didn't meet the targets. And then, okay, lo and behold, you're a premier, and then you're coming again with a similar strategy. And this time around, the young people are like, okay, basically, we actually gonna march to your offices to actually demand answers because wow, right? So the apathy is there. I guess the lack of hope and perseverance is also there. But I think there's like you speak about opportunities, right?
Yeah, like where's the silver lining? So we see the clouds.
We see the clouds are there. So I think with the opportunity is such that I was sharing with my young ones at home. I was like, guys, stop looking for computer jobs. They are not coming. Where you are is what you need to make use of right now. And they looked at me like, you crazy. And I'm like, yes, I know I sound crazy, but what are you good at now, right? I mean, you're amazing at communicating. You're amazing at organizing. You're amazing at managing finances. Bringing all those soft and technical skills together, you guys can come up with such a brilliant idea that can service your immediate community, but still bringing positive results and positive vibes in any shape or form, but you're still making the dough at the same time. And with the collection of those skills, then they are nicely packaged for you to actually, if any, apply for actually a professional job, wherever the case may be.
No, but then why are they not creating their own
situation?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, when you speak about combining these different elements, that to me sounds like a system. And a system, once organized and becomes predictable,
Yeah.
turns into a company. And a company, if that system is designed to meet specific needs, then it just needs to now find the customer.
Right.
And once it finds the customer, then that's your marketing approach. And once you have a marketing approach and you have the company, then you have a business and an income. Because customers must
Yeah.
be found for them to pay for the service,
Right.
and the company must organize its abilities into a product of some sort.
So a number of factors come into probably not executing, probably not having a tangible example that they can see to say that person actually started their own thing. One, two, probably also like a lack of interest. Like, oh my gosh, it's gonna take time. I don't want the admin of that. Like, I don't want to be having to go a lawyer and no, I just want ready-made stuff. Three, I think the fear and the tactics of it and seeing it, is it gonna work? Is it not gonna work? What if they don't like it? And also four, just not everybody's built to build businesses. We know that, right? Right?
Well, I'm starting to think that it's not necessarily that not everyone is built to build businesses. I don't think it's our constitution. It's our nurture. Our nurture is exactly what leads to that microwave generation thinking that says, I want a job because, boom, in 30 days I get paid and I'm set.
Facts.
As long as I keep this job,
Facts.
I'm set into this new class that you know what I mean?
Right.
So you get a good job, a computer job, like you mentioned earlier, right? That means you're able to then afford rent, you're then able to afford transport. There's this whole
Financial
craze.
freedom.
Yeah, there's this whole craze of buying a car as soon as you get your first job. So all of that comes with a job, but doesn't come with a business, because the business, you're probably going to buy a second-hand car to make deliveries.
Right.
And the car that you get to then show off comes 6-7 years down the
Right.
line. But that car is probably going to come paid for completely by the business,
Facts.
whereas you can get a job now and you're paying for the car using debt.
For your life.
And so you've now
Right.
signed yourself up into the system
Correct.
that traps you out of ever being able to opt out.
And the
So we're
financial
not
freedom is not realized.
exactly. And no, it can be realized,
be.
but it's not socialized into you. There's no one nurturing you into
Right.
it. Just like how people have been lamenting for the last 20 years at least. I am a bit older than you. So for the last 20 years, it's been this thing of, oh, but there's no financial education in schools, but no one has done a single thing to lift a finger. And that's where I then talk about, we know the problems. That problem is the solution in itself. Because now, what are we doing to go door to door and teach financial literacy? What are we doing to go door to door and teach people how to turn ideas into businesses?
Right.
And that becomes the opportunity, which is of service, but also of capitalistic value.
Facts.
And as we marry those two things of being of service to our people, and therefore they have an incentive to be loyal to us.
Right.
And then because they have that incentive to be loyal to us, we can then extract some capitalistic value in exchange for the value we're giving.
Right.
So we spoke about a crazy idea that.
Oh yeah, we did. It was really super random. So I like picking on you. I think you noticed that. And I think I've been picking on you for the last 8.5 months. Give or take.
I wouldn't call it picking on you. I think picking my brain.
Yes, picking your brain. It's still picking on you because it's fun. Anywho, and when I pick your brain, there's almost like, okay, what's up? So I picked your brain and I was like, yo, what do you think of me having like a giant size blow up pool, right? And so how my house is structured, like I have this quite a decent, huge lawn. I don't know the meters and the what, but I have a lawn, I have a pewter garden, I've got like tall trees, and I have this very long driveway, right? So when you walk in, my yard is pretty big. The driveway can fit about 3 to 4 cars max. And the lawn,
Ke khona unit.
like, no, it's like in the middle. Like we've got yard for days. Thanks, grandma and granddad. Anyway, so And I was like, okay, so it's spring is summer, and I have a bunch of kids living in my neighborhood, and there's never fun activities for them to do, right? Probably their mothers are like, ish, guy, and it's a whole drama. In my mind, I was like, okay, fine, I get this giant size pool, fill it up with water, obviously creatively create like an ambience of summer beach vibes, and get the youngins, the young ones, to come through, pull up and swim-ish, but enjoy the vibes of the pool in my yard for a mere like what, $5, $10, whatever the case may be. And then you are like, ooh, what if you can get other stuff, right? And in my head, I'm like, okay, cool. I think I can really do this because I already have quite a giant apparel. Like I have rapport with the kids and the parents themselves. I've worked with kids quite a lot. I think I've mentioned my camp counseling stuff, so we'll talk about that in more
Will
depth.
mine your mind as well?
I mean, you'll mind my mind, right? So that I'm a Sunday school teacher, so I kind of have an inkling of how kids behave and things like that. No, I don't have any child competency degree. I think for me, it's just it's quite
I
innate.
like the way that you paused there, right? Because I think that's one of the biggest barriers to why we don't start businesses
Yeah.
is the education message has been drummed into us so much that
What,
we
for
no
sure,
longer want to do the things we're passionate about
for sure.
because there's this barrier of study first. So you having this idea of, okay, let's have a pool play area for kids on weekends or after school, and literally, if you were to execute in the next week, because schools are closing in 7 days.
Oh my gosh, they're closing next week.
So literally the school holidays, you can start your public pool vibe, and by December, everyone will know, which means your yard can literally bring in revenue for the whole of December, the whole of the summer.
Jan, right? December, Jan is going to be a whole vibe.
Right.
Right.
So you're using this school holiday as an advertising case where, yeah, maybe few kids will come. It won't be that great, but you're then going to capitalize on that December, January time where they have what, 6, 7 weeks of not going to
It's
school.
crazy, yeah.
And it's like peak of
Peak
summer.
heat, yeah.
So the pool becomes this really important thing. And yes, you don't have the ideas about, oh no, how am I going to clean it? Because they're going to be walking in there with mud and sand. You'll figure all of that
I'll
out.
figure that out.
And that's the thing about business, right? Is we are so ready for the microwave fully solved problem
Facts.
instead of learning and, oh, what's this word? I hate this word, but I love it. Iterative. Iterative. Yeah. So we don't iterate.
Right.
Instead of like saying, okay, start with the pool,
Right.
do it, head first, then find out, okay, no, the mud is a mess.
The mud is a mess.
How do I deal with this mud mess story? Do I then have them have a separate thing where they wash their hands and feet before they get in?
Right.
But you see, that's something you do on day 2. It's not a day 1 problem to solve.
sure.
Day 1, get customers into the pool. Day 2, make the customer's experience better. Day 3, how do you add enhancements? Day 4, how do you up the revenue? Like
Step by step. I think just on that, that's exactly why there's a fear element that comes to it, because I'm already thinking about you know, when I told you there's a new word in the dictionary, the life admin. So the life admin that comes with, there's so many things to consider. There's so little budget already. Time is a constraint, this and that and the other. And that completely diminishes the idea. And again, the chiselet or the perseverance, or even the kind of like the energy to just say, let's just try, right? I think the worst thing that you can do is not try and still have the idea. And then you see someone else doing it and they flourish, and you're like, if only I could have just.
No, but this is where the networking becomes important as well, because
Agreed.
you will find that you might have one piece of this solved,
Yeah.
one piece of the puzzle solved. But within that environment, there might be someone else who's doing something. There's creches in your area, and those creches are closed on the weekends. They have stuff, toys, equipment. They have space that is not being utilized.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's the opportunities are endless. But you can't discover them if you don't first get over that first hurdle, which is what you're speaking about. That
Right.
first you have to try. That's
Just
the first
try.
hurdle is try. Put your foot in the pool.
That's your favorite word. You try.
Look, okay, when people say, "How are you?" I say, "I try." And the reason is I like the idea of it's constant action. It's not stagnant because I'm fine is done. I'm
I'm fine.
good.
I close the door. Okay.
Yeah, so you know what I mean? Whereas
But what if you find
trying is I am in a process. I'm constantly in a process.
when are you gonna thrive?
But that's where a lot of people keep asking me that question. And I'm like, you're doing the education thing, you're doing the microwave generation thing where you're like, no, show us the fruits, not be in the process. You see, the step-by-step business, building it day by day, solving each of the problems as you meet them, that's
Okay.
the trying. But everyone is like, yeah, but when are you getting to the thriving? Tell us about the revenue. Tell us about how you were popping bottles to celebrate how many kids came to your. You get what I'm saying?
I hear you.
That's the mindset that then limits us and stops us from then even being willing to do the humble part
But what
because we
if?
want to do the bragging part.
Yeah, but what if you were thriving? And hear my definition, right? What if you were thriving, and that is you're doing the best you can in the season that you're in with the resources that are available to you?
How is that different from trying, and why does trying bother you?
Because I just feel like trying feels
Weak.
not weak, but like energyless, if that's a word. It feels like you quietly accepted defeat. And I don't know if you've been like super energized, super hyped, super right? I'm yet to see that. And maybe it happens on occasion when you've kind of did a presentation, it was amazing, or you've crossed that hurdle that's just been giving you a headache for the longest of time, or you finally got across, conversing and bring up ideas and they finally get it and you're like, but I kind of haven't seen
So
that.
I feel like we've spent 2 minutes arguing on optics,
Okay, we have.
right? So this is the possibly why I used to be a very pompous person.
I can
And
see, because he actually said this is his radio station. So I'm just like, wow.
it's Hoy's FM. Like it's my hot on your sleeve radio. I came up with the concept.
You
It's mine.
did,
It's my
you
internet
did.
radio station.
You sure did.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not a podcast, guys. Forget about podcasting. I don't do that. But yeah, my thing is that this is where we get stuck in the aesthetics. We get stuck in how it looks. And my personal journey is humility, something I needed. I need humility in my life.
Right.
Because I have these lofty ideas. And to your point, what's the point of an idea if you don't execute
Facts.
it? And if you're constantly celebrating, oh, I broke this ceiling and I thought of this great idea, and it's all potential, but it's never actualized. So that's what I had to then take that hard lesson of, but now what have you done with your life? Then I realized, oh snap,
Ooh.
my being this pompous person is stopping me from learning the lesson, eating that humble pie. That will then push me to start trying, push me to be humble
Okay.
enough to, guys, it's day one. It's not the fancy thing. It's not the microwave
It's the
generation
mundane
version.
stuff.
It's the small, mundane, like literally.
The mundane.
I can tell you this, like from the time I was in business school, well, studying for a business degree, I literally didn't understand why everyone wants to be Gucci and no one wants to be Pep when Pep makes more money. Pep has more customers. Pep creates more jobs. So that's possibly why I choose to say I'm trying, because it bothers people. people don't like, why are we kokobetsa? Why are you making yourself small? No, but that's where I am in my mindset,
Okay.
because those are the people I'm trying to serve. Those are the problems I'm
respect
trying to
that.
solve.
Yeah, I respect that.
And we are not going to have a black mega industry come up from the top. It's not going to come from the top. It's going to have to come from the bottom. We're going to have to sell a product that every black person needs for us to then become black billionaires. But the thing is, we're taking shortcuts because of the microwave generation thing.
Right.
So we're thinking, if I just hit the lotto and get a tender,
Yes, and then you blew it.
then I'm at Durban July, and then I blew it. And this is a cycle that
Oh
we
my
have because we're
gosh.
trying to shortcut things instead of
Right.
start with the pool. But I get you, because I threw a lot at you, because I'm like, oh,
Yeah, you
while you're
did.
doing a pool, then those who don't want to swim, you can get a jumping castle.
Yeah.
Then so there's a jumping castle and there's the blow up pool, but that's over time. We
That's
can
over
spread that out
time,
over a
for
period of
sure,
time.
for
I mean,
sure.
you'd probably want everything there in December, right? So what's the December version of this? December version is then the pool must be there. There must be this climbing area. There must be this jumping castle area, and maybe there's even some skills that you impart.
1000%. I even brought up, and you were like, what? And I thought of, I mean, I like creating stuff with my hands, right? So give me crayons or paint, it's my thing. So I was like, maybe having a sip and paint, and you're like, what?
Yeah, because no, you're grooming these children to drink.
And I was
like,
no.
they're not like us. Why are you no, they're gonna tell you this, you're a freaky ass nigga. Why are you trying to be a 69
And I was
god?
like, no, Oros, my guy, Oros.
But
okay.
no, why are you calling it sip and paint?
We'll bring a different name, a different concept to it, but essentially it's just for them to just be creative. There's absolutely no limitations as to what they want to do on those canvases, and they take them home. And for me, what's important is that over time, I've learned that kids learn through play. And a lot of the kids are not necessarily competent in writing or speaking, but they can absolutely express themselves and have a whale of a time through play. And that also improves, they soft skills, which is a big deal in the workplace. Like if you are not soft skilled, awake or woke, ma'am, sir, check yourself. Hence we have a lot of wellness, mental, of which I guess we'll talk about at the right time. But in essence, that's kind of the idea. It's just to have a December vibe, a different one this time around for the little league, I like to call them, because they're a league of their own. But also for the parents to know that their kids are in a safe environment and they don't have to stress about and also for them to, I guess, enjoy themselves as they play as adults, knowing that their kids have learned something at the end of it. So that's the idea.
So when are we registering? Do you need a checklist?
I think I need a checklist. I think I've told you this, and I don't know what to call it, but I'm brilliant at conceptualizing stuff. Like I can just come up with an idea and it's on the table and I probably give it out for free. Yeah, I do.
Wear your heart on your sleeve. This is Hoys FM, and what we do here is we bring from within and we bring it out into this real world. So as she's speaking, you understand the alignment and why she is not a guest, but a guest co-host. Special guest co-host. And yeah, so you'll be hearing a lot from her, because in terms of that mental space that speaks to potential, opportunity, ideation is something I've kind of been addicted to. But it's through that humility that I've then tried to now start acting upon these ideas. Because my literal thing was that I would be a management consultant, right? That was my whole...
Yeah, that was the whole package.
That was my goal. It was like, And then I worked in corporate.
Oh,
And I
no.
worked in a management consulting environment.
Oh, no.
And I realized how soulless that job is, how
Wow.
it's not actually what the propaganda sells you the job is, because there are very specific problems that you get to solve. You're not being creative, you're actually being iterative, because what's happening is no one wants to take a chance. No one wants to go crazy and say,
Yeah.
blow up pool, kokasi, kids are gonna come and pay.
Right.
That's too crazy, because they're like, where's the case study? What?
Show us proof.
Yeah, show us proof that this thing is going to work. And
Oh
I'm
my
like, okay,
gosh.
so that's where you get fixated on this thing of learn, and then you end up not doing.
I can
And the
tell,
doing is the
yeah.
learning, which kind of touches on your play,
Right.
that they learn through play. So similarly, we have to start the businesses to learn how to do businesses. We can't, there's no textbook that's going to turn your swimming pool idea into a fully fledged business. It's only action that's going to do that. And that's why
Correct.
my next thing is just like, okay, how do we now check in on you on a regular basis? What's the checklist?
Yeah.
And also give yourself the grace. If December, pool, jumping castle, climbing area, and painting, that's it. We don't need to be adding more bells and whistles to it yet. And literally, it's a case of, okay, so you've got school holidays coming up.
Mhm.
Are you starting with the pool? Are you starting with the painting? Are you starting with the climbing?
Mhm.
And one by one, as the revenue starts to come in, as the kids start to spread the word,
Mhm.
then you can take it to the next level to be like, okay, so now I know how much money I'm getting. I can then invest in the next thing.
Right.
Now I know how much money I'm getting. I can invest in the next thing.
Right.
And you find people that you can then create jobs for, because you still need
I need
to have
a
the
team.
capital to invest in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that is absolutely crucial, because just going back to the managing consultant analogy, I think that is super rigid and painful. I'm sorry. just
Look,
it's like Grace, yo. It's like
I thought I was gonna get to paint, and instead I was told no. You know those things where you're painting by numbers.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then I'm like, guys, I
These
thought I was
borders.
Picasso. I thought I was gonna be breaking
Right.
things and making new things.
Absolutely. And so yeah, I think for me it's a step at a time. I know that this is probably going to be bigger than me, and that's why it's important for me to be able to be an example to those that are behind me, to say you guys can actually take over and make it your own and create even bigger platforms as well. And also, don't look at the instantaneous, we're making money and let's go spend. No. Investment. We need to invest. We need to invest not only in just the family lifeline of where we are, but also where we are environmentally, right? Because Meadowlands is a beautiful space, but Meadowlands over the years is deteriorating. And unfortunately, establishments and taverns are like making it big.
Because people want money now.
They want money now. And
If I buy the liquor at this price and I sell it at this price,
Exactly.
I'm gonna have this much money.
1000%.
It's a predictable business, easy.
Easy. And now, as an 8-year-old or a 13-year-old, and I'm seeing my big brother is having a good time being a so-called DJ at that place, that's what I aspire towards. He's got the girls, he's got, the alcohol, he's got the music. That's what I want to do. That's all I want to. I want to be like my brother. He's my role model at the time. But if there's something else that I can expose you to that is not your brother, but that could actually help you to one day be an Olympian, I don't know, or that could help you actually be a bit more better at your schoolwork, be just a better human being, but also get you out of trouble. It entertains you. It helps you to become just a cool person overall holistically. Then that's something completely different that can add value to you. And then you can just go back to school and be like, hey, my holidays, guys, have no idea. So essentially, that's really the direction. I just thought it to be just something cool to do, but I guess it's got legs. And maybe that's a problem that I have. Um, I think I limit it to just it being an idea. And the life admin at the back of my head is like, "Ugh, do I have the time?" And
No, we see what I've learned,
yeah,
in as much as you're calling it management consulting, the skill that I feel like I've been harnessing over the last couple of years, since the pandemic, I think, is world building. So
what's that?
so I don't know if you've ever watched anything by Joshua Maponga.
I probably should.
You probably should. So he has a way of basically thinking about thinking, creating a
Okay.
methodology for what are the rules of thinking.
Okay.
And so, for example, he starts with a simple thing that literally, I don't know why schools haven't adopted this, where he's like, okay, so let's say we're talking about the thing. There is the thing, there is what it was, there is what it could be. There is other things that are similar to it and compete with it,
Yeah.
and there's things that are opposite to it. Just by doing that, we change the curriculum and we change the approach to teaching for children if we applied this, right? The same way that I was saying for 20 years, people have been saying, but no one teaches you how to do a budget. No one has made a proposal to put it into the curriculum. So similarly, this idea, Maponga has been talking about these kinds of things, and there's many more. I was being very brief, right?
Okay, cool.
But just that, which child will not pass a test where everything that is introduced to them in their vocabulary, they think about it in this way,
Right.
where you immediately say to them, okay, so this is a sweet, but what's smaller than a sweet? The sugar that's in the sweet. Already you've taught them science, but you're using just simple, normal English words,
Literally.
right?
Plain,
And then you're like,
plain,
okay,
plain.
so what can it become? Oh, if I eat it, it gives me energy. Cool, that's a correct answer. It's one of the many correct answers. It can rot. That's another correct answer. And we then, you know what I mean? We're expanding their minds to realize that what's in front of them is not only what's in front of them. What's in front of them has potential. And that's where you're doing the spiritual work. Because to your point, children don't learn in the formal setting, they learn through play.
Right.
And if this becomes a part of who they are and how they think, then as they're climbing that wall in a play area, they're not thinking to themselves, I want to come back and do this tomorrow. But they're also thinking to themselves, I'm going to be better tomorrow than I was today. They're also going to be thinking to themselves, tomorrow I can even be at some level where I'm now climbing mountains.
Right.
Now I can go and climb at Table Mountain. So you're expanding their worldview, because you're not only telling them it's what's in front of you, but there's a whole world of opportunities
1000%.
behind that one thing.
1000%. I think it's, it's called the principle of exposure. Like once you've been exposed, you can never be unexposed.
Yeah.
And
these are the inner assets. I call them inner assets, where when I speak about having gold in your soul, these are the kinds of things where what separates the child that has the inner resources and self-confidence
Right.
from the one who doesn't
Correct.
is these kinds of
little
resources that you're
right.
speaking about.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of what sets our, I guess, other white kids apart, right? This is what sets black kids from white kids apart.
I wouldn't even use race in this one. This one is a class one.
Okay, we'll use class for now.
Yeah, because I think exposure goes with class more than it goes with race.
Okay,
Yeah.
I guess, okay. But stay with me. By that, what I'm trying to get at is the more we expose our kids to the possibilities of them being able to do stuff that actually help them, it's up to them to decide whether I like it or not, right? And I think for the most, probably just taking education, just basic education for what it is, it's then being able to help our kids understand that 1 + 1 is actually more than 1 + 1. And similarly to that, it then just creates a curiosity. And I think that's for me what's really been helpful. Like I'm just naturally curious. Like, how do things work? Or the things that have been working, are they really working?
Children are naturally curious.
Yes, and that's what we are not kind of allowing them to engage and like exploit, because there is borders and parameters, and rightly so, because we are responsible for them as supervisors, and up until they are a certain age and they can be able to make decisions for themselves. But what I'm trying to get at is that there's an enclosing of curiosity from the kids that I'm experiencing in my area. And because maybe their parents were never given the opportunity to be exposed, or their parents were probably never given the opportunity to be curious. And probably their parents, the same stories, probably the super generation. But the long and short of it is that, yes, you are right in saying that helps with, the inner nuggets of creating and sparking that, oh my goodness, I've never seen this smoke I see before. Oh my goodness, I've always wanted this smoke I see, but I've always had to go far to get it. Now it's literally a walk away, and it's safe, and the people are kind, and there's order, and it's an experience, and I can go on and on and on about it and tell everybody to come and actually experience it. Yeah, and it just really creates a community, because I think we tend to think that we are super amazing independently, but we actually,
Need to come together, because
yeah,
I'm willing to bet that within that circle of those kids,
right.
there must be, or should be, or ought to be some kind of tutor, someone who helps
Oh,
people with homework.
absolutely.
And so now, if
Absolutely.
you have the play on the weekend, now you can become a central point for, let's all get together during the week, let's learn, let's revise, let's do our homework, let's do the reading out loud. And that is going to then compound, because now during the week you've got customers who are coming for educational services, which is a completely different revenue
Yeah,
stream
absolutely.
and business model,
Yeah,
which has its own people and all of that.
Right.
And then on the weekend, it's now a fun time, it's a party, and you're teaching kids this balance of work and play, and seeing it actually, because right now kids hate school.
oh, they
But
do.
why do they hate school? Is because it is only a place of restriction. It is only a place of limitation. When you were talking about that rigidity of the rules and the structures and the
Right,
boundaries,
right.
where you're constantly being disciplined, you're constantly being limited. Stop that. Don't do that. Don't do this. So you need then to also turn that space into, no, be free, open up, see what your possibilities are, go to the limit, as long as you're doing that safely, of course.
For sure,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, it that's very important, and I think it then creates an entire ecosystem of work, of play, of skills development, of, okay, I didn't know that I can actually learn about emotional intelligence, if any. It creates, again, just employment, because I mean it's a whole bag, it's a whole umbrella. So I like using the analogy of an umbrella. And I think whoever invented the umbrella, shout out to you if you are dead or alive, but shout out to you. The umbrella is just the shape of it. It looks like a dome, right? And essentially it's meant to cover, I guess, the top of your head, hopefully top of your body as well. And the wiring of that umbrella is such that each string, each wire, each material, each and every detail has its different compartment as it is, because it's meant to actually all, blow up and literally recline as well. And so I like using the analogy of an umbrella, because there's so many different compartments to this whole thing, because it's then able to be a fully fledged, I guess, I don't know, a social enterprise, give or take, because I am solving a social issue.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
And because you asked the question,
Uh-huh.
I Googled quickly.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And the umbrella has ancient origins.
What?
First discovered 4,000 years ago in ancient civilizations such as Egypt, Assyria, China, and India.
I knew Egypt was in the pipe. Like,
Yeah.
Egypt is
And
smart.
then it's only in the Middle Ages through the Renaissance that they started being used in Europe. And then in that modern time, an Englishman then popularized the foldable umbrella.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and it's that kind of, in the moment you're speaking about the umbrella and shouting out this person, taking that off ramp through that curiosity is the only way we fight ignorance, because we could have then been okay with not knowing.
Right, because it's like, yeah, sure, umbrella. Psh, of course. I mean, foldable. Yeah. Buy it all the time.
But that's not what we do at this radio station.
No.
We wear our hearts on our sleeve
Absolutely.
and we swing for the fence.
Agreed. I think so. As the special guest co-host, I don't know what my title is. I really need to get it right.
You have to invent one, because we are creators here. We wear your heart on your sleeve. So put your heart out there.
So KG, I think I'm gonna forget the acronym if any. KG, the special guest host. I think that's as simple as it can be.
So it's KGSGH.
Yes, KGSGH. You
That
have
is
to
not.
remind
That's
me.
not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen.
Really, that's not gonna lie.
Anyway, so
I
today was a
missed that.
special day. You
It
wanted to speak about something before we wrap up.